Mat Reeves gives some plot details on the Batman 2. Do we like what we are hearing? That and more on this episode of Kristian Harloff Show presents Capes and Cowls. Let's do it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Kristian Harloff, Capes and Cowls. It is myself, Kristian Harloff, joined by Winston A. Marshall and Coy Jandro. Hello, Coy. How are you doing?
Doing good. I'm excited.
It's good to have everybody here. I'm excited to have you both here. So how's everything going?
It's 104 where you once lived.
Wow.
I'm not.
Is it really?
That it is
Oof.
The biggest heat wave of the year, and I thought it was fall. So I know Winston and I are we're not happy we're not with each other, but we're also not mad we're not sitting in the same room at 104 degrees no AC. So
74 degrees with a nice big sandwich.
Just sit and spin, bro. It was part of the reason that, I was a baby bit late to set up was because I'm dog sitting right now, and because of how hot it is, I had to take the dog out for its longer walk this morning because I'm not taking the dog out in 104. That's insane. So it is what it is, man.
No, thank you.
I'm going to Halloween Horror Nights tonight. Like what?
Oh.
I can't.
Why?
My brain can't. How do I autumn in 100? I can't process Halloween. The only thing hell is accurate, but the rest.
All right, guys. So we have a lot of stories to talk about, and this was the big one as I talked about it up top. The Batman director, Mat Reeves. Well, he's sharing some new details. The first official plot details for the sequel. Everybody's wondering when the hell that sequel's coming out. Well, we got some plot details. In a new interview, Mat Reeves has shared the first official plot details for the Batman Part 2, and his comments have led to speculation that the Court of Owls will be involved. Oh, good. I've been waiting for the Court of Owls. I don't know what that is. Rumors relating to the Batman director, Mat Reeves' plans for the highly anticipated sequel that he's been doing the rounds since shortly after the movie was announced, and we finally have an official update on the plot of the Batman Part 2 straight from the filmmaker himself. Reeves shared a story outline during a recent interview with SFX magazine, confirming that the movie will once again feature Batman investigating a mystery. He doesn't reveal anything too significant beyond this, but his comments have ignited a lot of speculation online. He said, "We've shared the script as we've gone along with DC, and they're super excited. I'm going to dig into the epic story about deeper corruption, and it goes into places that Bruce Wayne couldn't even anticipate in the first one. The seeds of where this goes are all in the first movie, and it expands in a way that will show you aspects of the characters that you never got to see." Batman is constantly battling these forces, but those forces can't be entirely exercised. So the next movie delves deeper into that. Deeper corruption into Gotham City. Sounds like the Dark Knight might be meeting the Court of Owls. This shadowy sect was introduced in the pages of writer Scott Snyder's and artist Greg Capullo's New 52 run as organization of the wealthiest and most influential citizens in Gotham. The group operated in secret and remained unknown among the city's population. Aside from some of the urban legends centered around their reputation for grisly assassinations carried about by the indoctrinated agents known as Talons. There are possibilities for the sequel's main antagonists, of course, but when it comes to certain villains that the Cape Crusader may or may not be going up against, Reeves did indicate that certain fantastical characters, including the likes of Gentleman Ghost, are off the table. What was important to me was to find a way to take these pop icons, these mystic characters that everybody knows, and translate it so that Gotham feels like a place in our world. We might push to the edge of fantastical, but we would never go into full fantastical. It means to feel quite grounded. It doesn't mean that you won't see characters that people love. That's exactly what we want to do. Gentleman Ghost is probably pushed a bit too far for us to be able to find a way to do that, but there is a fun way to think about how we could take characters that might push over into a bit of the fantastical and find a way to make sense of that. So they asked when it's going to start rolling. It shoots next year. We're gearing up, and I will say that the bar couldn't be higher. It's the sequel to the first one, but also Mat Reeves is like no other. In the 5 years that I've been working with him as closely as I've tried to absorb as much as humanly possible from him, and I'm so grateful for the time that I get to spend with him. He's a true artist who is operating in a world where something sometimes art doesn't get to flourish, and he's trying to make something that really matters. So to be able to just be on the ride of that process is unbelievable, pretty tremendous. I'm psyched for this movie. I think a lot of people are psyched for this movie, and maybe no one more so than Winston A. Marshall. Winston, so this is something where you can go into as long as you want on this one, but I wanted to point out the thing that I found most interesting is that as we're going to have in James Gunn's DCU, where you are going to get the fantastical stuff, this seems to be the whole reason why you have an Elseworlds, where you can have a more grounded Joker 2, or more realistic, I should say, in the same way that Nolan's Batman was kind of steeped in the realism, and that seems to be that Reeves is kind of taking over for what Nolan is doing. Would you agree with that?
No, I 100% agree, and I couldn't think of a better antagonist or group of antagonists to select than the Court of Owls. I was freaking out because I hadn't heard this story yet, and the Court of Owls, in my opinion, is Batman's greatest adversary as like a group. Now, people are going to argue, obviously, it's Joker, things like that. I don't mean that kind of, obviously, that's yin and yang, that's that kind of push-pull back forth. But the Court of Owls specifically, until we got to recent storylines of Zernar Batman and Failsafe, where all of a sudden Bruce is really fighting with himself in a much more ruthless way, and that's a whole other separate conversation. The Court of Owls was one of the first times that Bruce genuinely got pretty damn scared, where he had heard the legends of the Court of Owls, essentially, as was described in the story of this secret society of the most influential, that the Court of Owls will come and kill you, that all this kind of stuff, that they make everything run. You step out of line, they'll take you down. And there's been a number of stories with them since their introduction of Bruce essentially being recruited, but thinking that they figured out who Batman is, but they kind of haven't yet, but then they do. And this whole back and forth of what happens when another group that rolls in the shadows, has infinite money, is trying to put their talons literally into the city of Gotham. How do you fight that corruption? It's not just, there's a mob boss, so I know you're out here like shipping guns and drugs, or you're robbing a bank, or you're making some weird kind of riddle puzzle that I gotta push my brain to the limit. It is, we're doing the same thing as you, more or less, which is why another big adversary obviously is Ra's al Ghul, which worked very well for Nolan as far as dealing with the League of Shadows and whatnot. Imagine a Gotham-based League of Shadows that is insane. Like, I am so excited to hear that is apparently who Reeves is going to be tackling next, and to see the depth at which I know Pattinson can go. And I got to thank you for that, because I was very anti him way back when he got rumored to get cast. This is the perfect role to bring out that emotional depth, because multiple stories of the Court of Owls, Bruce is terrified. And I cannot wait to see, because they start doing the same kind of mind games that Scarecrow does, where he's now all of a sudden his parents' death is on his head and he's freaking out and he's getting his ass whooped. Oh, I can't wait. It
seems like this is a play on the Illuminati, huh, Coy?
Yes. Yeah, it's really a beautiful way to play with our fear of those big cultural behind-the-scenes power structures. And I think it's a really clever way to use Gotham's wealth and the wealth inequality concept that Batman represents as a force of fear. And I think that it also kind of acknowledges everyone talks about how Bruce Wayne should just throw money at the problem and why isn't he using his money to fix things. And I think the first film really beautifully addressed what happens when the systems are corrupt, and Bruce and his family thought they were putting money towards helping people, and then Thomas Wayne didn't know his foundation would obviously be corrupted into what it became. I think this is a great way to sequel that, level up that concept to where it's a physically violent misuse of power. It's a giant billionaire cabal, but not just being evil with their money, but being evil with their knowledge of corruption. So I think it's really smart. I do think they've established kind of a baseline for it if they go this way, with that montage that Hush was also lightly teased in that news report montage they had in the film. There's a lot of seeds planted there, but most of all, I think it's a really cool way to have someone like Talon, who is kind of the lieutenant of this, like a main villain be a physical adversary, and then the wealth be something that would be a mental adversary for Bruce. So I think this attacks both Bruce and Batman in a really unique way.
I'm curious, Coy, do you think that they're going to do a situation of just a solitary Talon, or, because there have been obviously multiple stories told of this, the idea of like the army of Talons, which is part of the reason why a lot of times Bruce is so damn afraid. What do you do when you're fighting an army of Batman? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's.
I think it'll start with one, and then I think it'll be a third act army of. I think it'll be like a good way to, because they tend to send out a Talon as like a scout. So I think it'll be like we think the movie is like fighting Talon, and then in a less cheesy way they'll have that, you know, Kang Council, but it'll be all Talon. You know, like they'll do it correctly though. I think where it'll hopefully be, you know, you've got this one guy he can barely beat. What do you do when it's all of them? So I think if they do this right, it'll be a great different Batman movie, since we have seen Joker before, we have seen Riddler before. We've not seen the Court of Owls outside of comics and animation.
Yeah, no, I've never even heard of him at this point. But what do you guys think about as far as the grounded? You know, this is what Nolan famously did, right? So how do you feel about Reeves taking this approach, and does it make sense to do, Coy, with the new, you know, with the DCU and then the Elseworlds stuff?
I think this is exactly when to do it. I think we'd all been clamoring for a detective Batman for quite some time, and I love Nolan's trilogy, but when he does magic and finds a fingerprint on a bullet, that was not detective work, that was magic. I like this more detective-leaning, David Fincher, hyper-psychological Batman. So now is the perfect time to even go deeper that way, because you've got the DCU to go fantastical. You've got the DCU to be a place where there have already been heroes forever, where Superman can fly into Gotham, where a guy with a ring that is all-powerful can exist alongside a guy that wears tights and is a good detective. That's where you bring in the Gentleman Ghost. That's where you bring in some of these insane characters like Clayface. That's the world for it. So since you've got two running simultaneously, I think there's never been a better time to make a grounded Batman than when the people that want the bigger, larger-than-life, like Adam Plavik was talking about on Twitter, very upset he's never seen it or hasn't in 10 years, we're going to have our cake and eat it too, because every Batman fan is going to be eating soon.
All right, so what do you guys think? Do you think that this plot detail, with Winston and Coy obviously very excited about, what's it called, the Owl Foundation?
The Court of Owls.
Perfect.
You son of a...
The Court of Owls.
The Owl Foundation.
Court of Owls.
Gotham's OF is a little different than America's OF.
Whoa!
Well, they're coming in hot. How do you guys feel about it? Do you think that this is the way to go? And what do you think about the grounded Mat Reeves Batman? Is that also the way to go? And speaking of grounded, we still have some... tell me about Ground Turkey sponsor. No, I'm just kidding. We have grounded when it comes to Joker. Joker is getting some reviews, guys. And it looks like there's people who love it, people who don't. Joker, Folie à Deux. The reactions from Venice hail it as the movie of the year. And a huge disappointment. Joker, Folie à Deux has just screened in Venice. And while the review embargo has not lifted yet, some early reactions are every bit as mixed as 2019's Joker. So the first Joker, Folie à Deux The first Joker Folie à Deux screenings took place at the 81st Venice International Film Festival this morning. First reactions are here. The majority of critics have not chimed in because they're adhering to an embargo. Some have either ignored that or didn't agree to it, explaining why we have a few early thoughts on Todd Phillips' Joker sequel. We'll start with some of the verdicts posted on Letterboxd. Film Dreams FD says that the message of the movie is poignant and devastating, but adds that the movie lacks emotion and feels like a response to those people who thought the first was a eulogy of violence. Demo states that the musical aspect feels like a gimmick and eventually becomes tiresome, with Starboy describing it as a convoluted mess that aspires to be everything and ends up being nothing. Damn. Finally, Detectives Zinc calls Joker Folie à Deux a huge disappointment. In contrast, the social media reactions are far more positive. Our friends over at Joe Blow, for example, have hailed it as the movie of the year. If these mixed reviews tell us anything, it's that Joker Folie à Deux is unlikely to be a critical darling. Joker has only 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, but at the 92nd Academy Awards, it still earned 11 nominations, the most of any film at the ceremony, and won Best Actor for Joaquin Phoenix and Best Original Score for Hildur Guniter. No way I said that right. See what critics are saying about the Joker. Follow you do below and yada yada yada. Okay, so I mean, yeah, I think that they nail it on the head here. Where it's very similar to me that what was coming out of the first Joker, right, Coy? I mean, this is like hard to judge. I think that it would more so if everybody was saying that it stinks and that it was a big miss, then you're like, oh, maybe everybody is right. But when it's mixed, you're like, well, who am I going to line up with?
I think a movie like Joker is inherently polarizing. I think if you look at what he's like mirroring, it's films that are very popular but controversial. So I think it's all in how he handles the subject matter. It does seem to me like a lot more of the people that aren't on social media are pretty negative, and social media with movies ahead of time, a lot of times we talk about like the buzz of an event and all the like experience of the excitement getting out there. So I'm just hoping I land on the side of the social media folk versus the people on Letterboxd. But it definitely surprised me that it was in the 50s on or like a 5 point something on Metacritic and as low as it was so far. But I don't see it as a very approachable for everyone film.
Right.
So it's one of those movies that I'm not counting on anyone else's opinion because it's something I know I'll need to experience and decide where I stand.
Yeah, Winston, the only thing that was said in here that makes me nervous is what I was kind of worried about, honestly, but again, I have to see it, was that I like musicals. I like musicals in general, and I know that this is going to be used as like a device for Arthur mentally and all that, and I think we're all clear of that. But my concern was that it would become gimmicky. And when one of those reviews said that, I was like, uh-oh, because that was one of my concerns. Now, I might disagree with that person when I see it and go, well, it actually wasn't gimmicky. It actually worked perfect. But does that concern you at all or not really?
That was always going to be a thing. Anytime you have a musical, in order for a musical to work, I remember being taught this back in school. The music can't just be because, hey, now I'm going to sing a song. It has to be that there is such an emotional depth to what's going on. You can't express it anymore with your words. You have to sing it out. You have to dance it out, whatever it is. Like, it needs to make logical sense, but it's like, this moment is just too much. And then here's Willy Wonka's factory. So that's why all of a sudden we're singing it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, It needs to be that. So if it's just like, and now here's a song, and I think that that's part of the reason why, for example, I know you have multiple reasons why you don't like the Marvels, but the idea that this musical planet just kind of comes out of the blue versus if it made logical sense. So if it even had been like that planet, in order to fight, has to use music to like power whatever it is. That's just how that you probably would have bought that better than just, and now here's the gimmick of here's a musical planet. If that's what it feels like watching the Joker follow you do, it's just kind of like, and now here's a song.
Yeah, it feels like a bit.
Versus he's having a psychotic break and then it turns it, you know what I mean? That just,
or the way that they did it in the first one, where he's kind of going through these things and he's painting this reality that's not really there. Almost even to by the time we get to the movie, you don't really even know if all this stuff was real or not. Like, I thought they did that brilliantly. Where this, if it just turns into a gimmick, like, okay, here we go, they want to do a funny dance number here, and they wanted to spend their budget that they got because they did the first one for cheap, and now they got a lot of money for the second one. Now they're going to do 7 huge dance numbers. Why? Because. And if the answer is because, that's a problem.
I worry if we're getting to a point now where there is like a slight curse on Gaga acting. She's a fantastic actress. I've actually enjoyed pretty much all of her work, but I was just looking through her IMDb real quick. I think the only movie that she's been in that was like critically acclaimed and did well is A Star Is Born.
Yeah.
Because House of Gucci did not do well. She was also in, let's see, I had the other ones pulled up here. Her season of American Horror Story, people didn't really like it.
She was in that Tarantino movie too, wasn't she?
She was in a Tarantino movie that didn't do very well.
She was not Tarantino.
That's Dame to Kill. She was in Sin City, Dame to Kill
That's
4.
what it was.
That wasn't very good.
Yeah.
As far as a follow-up, Muppets Most Wanted, it was fine. She was in Machete Kills, which was fun.
That's what I was thinking of. Machete Kills. It was Robert Rodriguez, not.
It was fun, but it wasn't great. Even the Men in Black that she was in, Men in Black 3, it's not very good. So, like, what concerns me, just from like a superstitious standpoint, I don't want her to start to be associated with, if she's in your film, it's probably not going to do well.
Whoa. Well, here, there's two different things here. Whether or not this movie turns out to be good or not, you know, or beloved, the movie's already tracking at over like 125 million or 100 something, 30 million for opening weekend, maybe even more, I think. But so it's going to do very well. It's already projected to do better than the first one opening weekend. So as far as making money goes, she's not going to have an issue with that. But I think as far as longevity, if it's not that good, or people are like, I don't want to go watch them singing and dancing again. But the only difference, though, when you're doing a musical is it's still Lady Gaga that you're hearing singing. You know what I mean? It's like, so who doesn't? It's like, yeah, well,
and Johnny Cash, Joaquin Phoenix can sing. We just don't think of him as a singer, but Joaquin Phoenix has pipes. As soon as they announced this, my first thought was, you've got two incredible voices on screen that can also, I mean, they're both incredible actors, but in the musical sense, you think of how their voices will sound together. And I think the idea of a psychotic in your head musical is, like you said, if there's a reason for it, a really special way to differentiate yourself. I'm just worried at a couple of the things about it being over bloated and disjointed. Yeah. My concern is trying to do too many things, because now that they've shown there's a Two-Face, there's whoever Brendan Gleeson plays, there's the court trial element. So if they have, you know, Harvey Dent in the trial and it feels like it works, great. But if it feels like you're trying to do too much not Batman lore, because I feel like Todd Phillips' entire press tour has been, well, we cast Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn, but she's not someone with a squeaky voice or from New York or really Harley Quinn. We made a musical because there's songs, but it's not really a musical because we decided it's not a musical. Like all of his quotes are like, we did it, but did we do it? And I want to see the movie.
Just come see it, and then whatever he lied about, he goes,
It definitely feels like we didn't do a musical because it's only 9/10 musical. We didn't do Harley Quinn because it's only almost Harley Quinn.
We didn't do a musical because it's tested. We're testing, and it says just say don't musical. Yeah.
There is music in it, but musical?
Right. You can't even say.
Harleen Quinzel is in this film, but Harley Quinn certainly isn't.
Yeah. So I don't know. Does this concern you guys at all? You hear this and you say, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to see it anymore. I don't really see that happening. I think everybody's going to want to see it. But I don't know. Put your thoughts in there. Let me know. Before we move on to our next topic, I wanted to discuss with you guys our wonderful sponsors, both MANDO and, of course, AG1. AG1 I've been telling you about forever, and MANDO I'm really getting on board with. So you can hear about both of them right now. Here you go. All right, let me tell you about MANDO. I've talked about MANDO so many different times. For me, I saw, it was Dr. Shannon Klingman. It was some commercial, and I stuck around because I had heard people. And look, and I also, you heard me so many times, hey, MANDO. Said that before, and I was like, oh, look at a brand name MANDO. And then I got some, and I've been with MANDO for a little bit, and it smells wonderful. You can put it all over your body. That's right, your whole body. It's dermatologist tested, and it's gentle on all your bits. That's right. It controls odor for over 72 hours, and it's clinically proven. You can choose from the cologne quality scents or unscented. It's got so many different great smells to it, and so for me, it's like I'm right out of the shower. I have it on, and before I go in the morning, there's so many benefits to it. It's a whole body formula. There's no aluminum. That's the one that you always got to make sure. 72-hour control, as I mentioned, is doctor developed. It doesn't cause you irritation. It smells great. You're really, really gonna love it. So it is my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. When you're a new customer, you get a $5 off, or you get a starter pack, and you use that code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. You got to use the code big thing at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Critically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. It is so good. I love MANDO. Hey, MANDO. You guys know AG1. I mean, if you've been listening to this show long enough, you know that I love AG1. And people keep asking me. They notice. John even said when I started, new look, 20 pounds I lost. One of those reasons. AG1 became part of my routine. I read labels, I verify that everything is up to the quality I need, and that is why I've stayed with AG1 for as long as I have. It is a research-backed foundational nutrition supplement, and it delivers daily nutrients, gut health support, and is backed by multiple research studies so you can trust what you're putting into your body. I used to drink so much coffee because after drinking AG1, I have realized that I have all this energy and I need less coffee to power my day. It turns out I'm not alone. Because in a research study, 91% of people noticed they needed less coffee after 60 days of drinking AG1. 97% of people in a research study felt more energy after 30 days of drinking AG1. AG1 contains ingredients that supported sustain energy so you can be the best version of yourself within each day. And it really has worked for me. It's easy, it's satisfying to start your journey with AG1. If you go to AG1 and you can get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. You got to go to drinkag1.com/bigthing. drinkag1.com/bigthing. It's the one product I trust to support my whole body health. It's AG1. Thank you to MANDO. Hey, MANDO. And AG1, appreciate them being on board. Appreciate you guys. Get so many. The reason they keep coming back, people keep signing up for AG1, and that's why they are back. Same, Mando, make you smell good. Okay, let's get to this next story. Sticking a lot of DC stuff today. Superman, described as the exact opposite of Man of Steel. Coy Jandreau jumps for the sky. As new details on DCU's Hal Jordan now surfaces. Some intriguing new details about DC Studios' plans for Superman have found their way online, including intel on James Gunn's plans for the wider DCU and why he's looking to cast an older Hal Jordan. There's a huge amount of intrigue surrounding James Gunn's plans for the DCU, and this week, the decision to potentially cast Avengers Infinity War star Josh Brolin as Hal Jordan in HBO's Lanterns has raised some eyebrows amongst fans. The 56-year-old actor isn't exactly who the majority expected to play the iconic Green Lantern Corps member. Now, through Scooper, Daniel Rickman has shared some rumored insights into DC Studios' approach to the character. Shush. Apparently, they're eyeing Josh Brolin because their vision for Hal Jordan is to have him as an older, gruff, no-nonsense mentor to a younger and reckless Jon Stewart. And as we know, Brolin excels at playing the grumpy type. That sounds very much in line with what we'd expect, and it's clear now that Gunn has some very specific plans for the DCU's Hal. Addressing what the filmmaker is going for beyond that character, Rickman says he's heard Superman is fantastic and calls it a complete shift to hardcore sci-fi and fantasy, the exact opposite of Man of Steel. He adds, it is set in a world very different from ours and far removed from the DCEU. Heroes have been around for ages, and we'll see how it's affected this world's history and shaped the DCU. The DCU will feature various projects set across different timelines, not just present day, so more in line with the approach of Star Wars more so than Marvel. That honestly sounds like the right direction for the DCU, and good to hear Gunn isn't settling out to replicate the MCU, a world he's extremely familiar with after helming the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy and a holiday special. The fact that heroes have been around for ages also makes sense of a Hal and Guy Gardner being older on the screen than they are on the page. DC Studios is looking to create a history to this world rather than start from scratch, as Warner Brothers did with DCEU. And there's some merchandise, yada, yada, yada. Okay, look at that. Look at that Superman bottle. Very nice.
Nice bottle.
Yes. Okay, so, you know what's interesting here? I mean, I joke, but I think that I'm also being serious. Coy, you hear this, and you got to be jumping. You got to be jumping for the moon.
It's Superman. Like, I will preface with Man of Steel is a movie I really enjoy, and I really think it's an exceptional take on someone's vision for Superman, but it never felt like my Superman, and that's me being selfish. This sounds like my Superman, and I'm so glad people that wanted that Superman got it for as long as they did, and I wish they had the closure they wanted, but it's just not possible. That said, to me, Superman is aspirational. To me, Superman is someone that lives in this fantastical world, and I love that they're not copying the MCU. I love that we got a chance to see a world where it's the first superhero and it's Superman, and like, how would humans adjust? We've done that. Now let's do something new where we've got established heroes. Let's see how the world it feels in this new way. Also, maybe let's save Pa Kent from a tornado and actually have chemistry with Lois Lane and maybe twist a guy's head back on.
Winston, what do you think?
I spoke on Blurred Breakdown, go check it out on my YouTube channel, about the whole Brolin situation, and I don't love it, not because I don't revere Brolin's acting talents. I think he's fantastic. I don't love it because this man has already played so many major comic book characters that are in the lexicon.
Like two, right? Or maybe three if you include Jonah Hex.
If you include Jonah Hex, but both Cable and Thanos.
Yeah.
That, like, there are other older, gruff, no-nonsense, like, actors out there that could potentially play the role, and I feel like I would just, I guess, kind of prefer that than to keep recycling the same person. It's one thing if, like, it feels like you did one and it didn't work out, so, you know, a Ben Affleck a la Daredevil into Batman, which, you know, say what you will about the DCEU, I think that Batfleck was
Yeah,
great.
It was good. Well, what do you think, though? I mean, so there were also two other rumored names in that, which was Matthew McConaughey and Ewan McGregor. So, would you prefer one of the two of them?
I would prefer one of the two of them, but I also, to that point, if the point is that Hal is not a main character, if he really is kind of in a more Nick Fury-esque kind of role to the Jon Stewart that's coming in, then I'm also about having said established actor kind of come in and take that. But I don't know. I feel like we were excited about Corn Sweat because this is a vehicle that can literally launch this man's career. Hal Jordan is such a staple Paramount character. If we are making him older and kind of secondary, then cool. But if he at some point is going to take center stage, I don't love the idea of just automatically plugging someone in. It's part of the reason why, like, I like the Pedro Pascal casting, but I said something similar of like, my man's is already, Din and oh my, Joel and all these like big characters. He doesn't need this. Get your bag, but like I like the idea of somebody being able to use this as a vehicle to the next step.
Sure, I think that there's some. I'm usually on that page, but I think when it comes to this, of what, especially what this report just said, when it comes to, okay, it looks like it's going to be the Jon Stewart role that is going to be the one that's going to build the career.
Right.
And so if that's the case, it's like, I do think, because you're doing a TV show here, and and to the casual fan, they think Green Lantern, and unfortunately, the first thing that you're going to associate it with is the Ryan Reynolds movie. If you're not a big comic book movie fan or paying attention to everything, and you're going to go, well, what is this? And then they go, well, it's actually a true detective kind of serious show on HBO Max. Who's in it? Well, there's this young up-and-coming actor who's playing Jon Stewart, right? And everyone says he's great. Well, who's playing his kind of mentor? Well, the true detective style, it's going to be Josh Brolin. I'm going, okay, you can get people in there. You get Matthew McConaughey, you're really going to, because Matthew McConaughey has been circling television with Yellowstone. He's been circling it, and then you also have the fact that
with True Detective.
And
I love that they might just switch who he is in True Detective. That's such a funny. They're like, we want to make a True Detective type show, but what if McConaughey's the other cow?
I know. You know who someone who brought up the other day, and I love it, but the problem is and I think you guys are both be like, oh yeah, that's a great choice, but it just never will happen. Is Joel Edgerton.
Oh,
right, and
he was my thing. Yeah. I think he'd be a perfect thing, similar type of gruff but lovable role. Here's
my point with Joel Edgerton: is that Joel Edgerton is anything he's in, whether it's from Warrior to what I just watched him in with Dark Matter. He's the best. He's the best. You never hear his name as someone who they suggest. Like if you go, like when you're like, oh, who do you want to see play Hal Jordan? His name's never going to come up, except this one person who put it in the comment section. Because I didn't think about it. Someone put it in there, and I said, what a great choice that is. But I feel like when they submit the list, he's never on the list. And if he is, he's 15 or 20 down. But every single person, if you're like, they cast Joel Edgerton, every person would be like, great.
But
he's not going to do it. He's got Dark Matter season 2 coming up, so it's not going to happen.
That's true. But all I was going to say is, to that point, as you were saying, Kristian, and that's kind of what I was getting at. If this is like 7, and we're saying that whoever is playing Hal Jordan is really Morgan Freeman, which, yes, I know he's kind of narrating it.
Yeah.
But that's
he's in it.
Story.
He's not narrating it.
He's
not narrating it.
I thought we're kind of in the Norse sense of it. We get a lot of him doing like little monologues.
In
about
7, he's 7. He's on the case with Brad Pitt in 7.
No, I know he is, but I thought that like during we're hearing his inner voice at times.
I don't remember that.
Am I crazy about that?
Maybe, but it doesn't matter. I get your point.
My point is, if it really is more of a here's the Morgan and we're focused on the Brad character, if that's what it is, then by all means, for sure. I would feel some type of way if this was like the Josh Brolin show, you know what I'm saying, versus, if that's the case, then I would maybe prefer definitely Joel. I thought that was a great choice. But choice. Even Ewan I wouldn't have a problem with that per se, since he hasn't ventured into the superhero fray before.
Well, you look into
he was the best villain in DC, sir.
What was he in?
What is Black Mask? I mean, yeah, but again, that's where you then look at a situation where I don't necessarily think that Ben Affleck's acting was bad in Daredevil. The movie itself just had problems. Birds of Prey, I enjoyed it, but it had problems and people didn't like it. So it just kind of got washed away.
I do think he's the only member. I mean, like DCEU, he is my most memorable villain, and that's even amongst all of that. But it's not like people think about Birds of Prey much, so it's not gonna hurt him.
I didn't even know.
Restaurant scene.
Oh, he's so good, man.
Right.
But that's a totally different character. So I see where you're coming from. It's not as iconic as Daredevil to Batman or even like Cable Thanos, obviously.
And it's
Ewan McGregor would be fun as a gruff. Like we don't get to see him like that. That'd be fun.
I think what was a choice Mike brought up, of course, and no world does it happen, is Tom Cruise. It would be.
I mean, he was talking. I thought it was possible only because Tom Cruise came out and said The Flash was good, and I was like, this dude playing a long game.
He might still play,
establishing himself.
He might still do something. But there's the reason why is I don't think we'll ever see Tom Cruise do television. That's why, because this is the main point to take it from the Superman news of this to the Green Lantern news of this, is that whoever it is, whether it be Josh Brolin, I think we're gonna land on Josh Brolin. I really do. And the reason why is because it's the offer on the table would most likely be, okay, here's what you get. You're going to get this HBO show at high level quality on a True Detective type scale. We're really the writing team on this is incredible. The producers on it are incredible. But you're also going to get 2 to 4 movies in this as well, because we're going to need you to be in Supergirl, we're going to need you to be in this. We're going to transfer this over to this. If it does really well, we're going to probably want to do a movie. So you're going to be locked up and make a lot of cash right now if you want to do that. You make the pot thicker. So it's going to be. I think that's why they're going to wind up getting him. But I think there's a lot of stuff that they mentioned there that I think is just so interesting. The way that they're doing this overall. I love the idea, even though I don't think Star Wars is doing it well. I think that the fact of I like it so much better because the rumor was that Sergeant Rock is going to be made too, and that they want Luca to do it.
Yeah, which would be crazy. I mean, like the directors that James Gunn has enlisted so far are some of the absolute best working today. Like these names aren't what you think of as what do they work for hire directors like whatever terminology with the people that just show up for the studio. These are chore directors. These are artists that make really powerful films. I want that in the DC universe. As
long as you know what you want them to do, because you don't want it to, even though the three of us like Eternals, the Chloe Zhao experiment didn't work overall, so I thought I really liked it, but I think that it comes to, you got to understand, well, what are we doing here? And the thing is, one of the main reasons I don't think one of the reasons, I should say, not the main reason that it didn't work, is because what's the connection to all the MCU stuff, right? Because that's where they are in MCU, and you say, well, they had this big thing sticking out of the planet, and no one's addressing it, and they finally will, but it took forever to do it. What does this have to do? There's a Harry Styles scene. What's happening? If you do a Sergeant Rock movie, and what they said also is that it just takes place, this is going to take place in during World War II. So it just happened. So if somebody in one of the future movies references Sergeant Rock, it's like, well, we saw that movie, and so he's not necessarily, maybe he's not even around during that time. He doesn't need to be. I like that.
And that's how the comics are. I have literally never thought of Sergeant Rock's impact on anyone in the Justice League,
right?
But it is a comic from DC Comics. Like, I don't need everything to connect, especially not to the way that Marvel fans want it to.
He wouldn't do it, I don't think, because he's got other stuff going on and he just came out of a bunch of franchise stuff. But I think that someone who would do actually a fantastic job as Hal Jordan would be Daniel Craig.
They're going to say Paul Giamatti.
No.
He's always ready. Giamatti's always ready.
Giamatti is always ready. I mean, he would also crush it. John, you got to use your will.
That's right. Here's the light.
Like, beware my power!
Yeah.
Realize it's local!
God damn it! Why does my Giamatti sound like walking?
No. I'm just picturing him rehearsing on the set of that Christmas movie that was so good last year. I'm just picturing this wonky-eyed Giamatti with the ring.
That's right. Daniel Craig is, the only thing is, I just know how invested Daniel Craig gets.
He again won't do it because he's in the middle of reviving something he loves. Bernenthal, John Bernenthal.
I mean, he's so tied into the Punisher now.
That's what I'm saying, because he's off doing that. But I think he also, I'm just thinking not even of Punisher, but I'm thinking of the Bear. And all of
really
that.
Good. He's really good now too.
Think he would crush it.
Either way, we're going to find the last thing that, as Coy mentioned, that I'm also excited to see is the science fiction kind of fantasy aspect of Superman. I like to see a new take on it. I'm glad that we're hearing it's good. It needs to be. So, all right, guys, what do you think about that? Do you think that all the stuff that we covered with Superman and how the tone is, the Green Lantern stuff, what say you? Put your thoughts in there. We're not done with DC. We've got some more DC stuff. Before we get into that, I wanted to tell you guys both about Hims. That's right. Hims and Tushy. Love both of them. I'll tell you about them right now. So many comments lately about everybody that's buying the Tushies. And I see why you're buying them. I love them. You love them. Chris Carr loves them. Everybody loves the Tushies. I'm so excited to get you guys to get a Tushy that I almost thought about doing this from the bathroom, but then I was like, no, I want you to get it. It's terrible. That's a terrible thing for me to do, but I want to do it because I want to show you how much I love the Tushies. Check this out alone. Look at this. Just open up the toilet lid. You spray the water right in your tush. It's wonderful. Look at that. That's how it works. It's that easy. You put it on the toilet. You open it up. You spray the water on your butt. It's lovely. It's going to change the way that you think about cleaning up after a spicy dump in a coffee shop or a porta potty during a music festival. You're going to want to take Tushy with you everywhere, and thankfully you can. Because the Tushy Travel, it's collapsible, it's durable, and discreet portable bidet that gives you the most confident clean on the go. I keep telling people about these things. Everybody are getting the Tushies now, and everyone's like, oh, man, can I use your code? Can I use your code? Of course you can. It's the best. I got one. I've got two in my house right now, and it is so wonderful. We feel classy in this house. It's got a 3-stream nozzle for a total clean. It's got a new air mesh bag for discreet travel, faster dry time. It comes in 5 new colors. Every Hello Tushy bidet comes with a 30-day hassle-free return and 12-month warranty. So stop wiping until you bleed. Join the 2 million butts who have already made the switch to Tushy. For a limited time only, our listeners get 10% off your entire order, but you got to use that code BIGTHING. 10% off Hello Tushy, HELLTUSHY.com with the promo code BIGTHING. Hims! Guys, when we leave the house, whether you got your phone, wallet, keys, how's your hair look? But if you're experiencing hair loss, you may not be so confident when you step outside your door. Now, you got to get confident again. And you got to restore your hair. And you do it with Hims. Because nobody wants to lose your hair. And for men, it's common. And now with Hims, the solution is simple. You try Hims Hair Loss Solutions, and you'll be joining hundreds of thousands of subscribers who got their flow back. Hims provides access to a range of hair loss treatments that work all the way from the comfort of your couch. They offer personalized chewable, orable spray, and serum treatment options so you can find what works best for you. The process is simple and 100% online. Just answer a few questions, and a medical provider will determine if the treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment is sent directly to your door. Hims has hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, so if you feel like you're losing a part of yourself with your hair loss, get Hims and get your confidence back. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/bigthing, HIMS.com/bigthing for your personalized hair loss treatment options. So that's hims.com/bigthing. Results vary based on studios of topical and oral mixodal. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. I thank you to Hims and thank you to Tushy. As I mentioned beforehand, if you want to help us out, if you don't have a bidet, well then shame on you. Shame on you. You have a portable bidet you could have. And I've been offering that to you forever. You don't have one? No class. And then Hims. You just sign it up. Sign up. You can. The links are in the description. Come check it out. Guys, we still have more DC stuff. And this is a rumor here coming out about Lex Luthor. Apparently, Nicholas Hoult was rumored to have filmed a scene as Lex Luthor for Peacemaker Season 2. There's a new rumor doing the rounds online claiming that Nicholas Hoult has filmed at least one scene as Lex Luthor for the second season of Peacemaker. James Gunn made it very clear the new DCU would be much more cohesive shared universe than the DCEU ever was when he took over as the co-CEO of DC Studios. And we already know that the upcoming Superman reboot will have some connections to the second season of Peacemaker. At the very least, it has been confirmed that Frank Grillo will appear as Rick Flag Sr. in both, and a new rumor is claiming that much bigger characters also set to make his presence felt in Peacemaker Season 2 after making his debut on the big screen. According to Grace Randall, Nicholas Hoult has filmed a scene as Lex Luthor for the Max show's sophomore. Now, he says that Grace isn't known as the most reliable of sources, but she has broken a few significant scoops in the past, so we'd say this is worth some attention. Plus, based on the recent set photos, Luthor is most likely funding Flag and his crew and said about capturing the Man of Steel and Superman, so it only makes sense that he'd still be pulling Rick strings in Peacemaker. Okay, let's say that this rumor is indeed true. I think it's smart. I think it makes sense. I think you put him in there because this is what the beauty of having James Gunn running the shop is that people want to do things for James Gunn. They want to. He's like, this is gonna be. You can see him having fun. He's like, "It's gonna be so much fun. We can put you in Peacemaker. You can do a scene with Cena. You can do this." The question is, though, you got to be careful inside of tone, though, too, right? Because Peacemaker is a complete goofball of a show. You can have serious moments, for sure, but it's a goofball of a show, and I don't want him to be in a goofball moment and diminish kind of seriousness of Luthor's going to be in it. But Coy, you hear this? What do you think about it?
I think this is genius because it immediately establishes Peacemaker in the new universe. I know there are going to be story elements. I think it's going to be his dad's helmet because we know that what's his name's back, Patrick, the T-800 or the T-1000 from Terminator. What's his name? Oh, there we go.
Robert Patrick. Yeah.
Robert Patrick, there we go. We know Robert Patrick's back, and he died season 1. So I think they're going to be using a helmet element or something to bring the new universe in. And I think to establish that it is the same universe as Superman, Lex Luthor is a perfect character for that because there are story elements, like you just suggested with the funding. There are elements of what the character would mean for the greater DCU. I think a character like Lex Luthor and an actor like Nicholas Hoult is malleable enough to work in other tones without betraying the core of who he is in Superman. So I think it's great.
Winston, what do you think?
I most of what was said in the story and by Coy specifically anchoring, Nicholas Holt's Luthor gives a little more gravitas to the show. Not that Peacemaker doesn't have that. There's some pretty serious stuff discussed in it, but it takes it and makes it something real. But it also, like you said, that's the immediate bridge then. Now we know, okay, yeah, no, you're not staring at Mark Zuckerberg. You're staring at Beast. Like this is a real. I forgot Jesse Eisenberg's name, and all I could say was Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, we got it. You shouldn't even revealed why you did that. It was good.
I was just like, what a choice.
Yeah, it's fine. That's literally my brain. My brain just trying to work it out. I was like, oh man, okay, wait. He did something else. Yeah, Zombieland. Cool.
Well, either way though, but they're all it is a good. It's a good move to do it that way, and to see how he's going to actually connect things. And I think that it is important that he starts connecting things. But as we just mentioned with like Sergeant Rock, he doesn't have to connect everything. He can put things in the past. He can put other things. He can mention stuff. And as they said in that Superman report, these things, the heroes have been here for a long time. He's going to establish us. I'm excited to see like the establishment, like the rules of this new DCU. And the overall tone and feel of it. So, to me, Lanterns is becoming very highly anticipated. Superman, I'm very pumped to see. Supergirl, I'm very excited to see. So far, the things that they're setting up, and because of the Mangold aspect of it, I'm excited for Swamp Thing. I think that's going to happen before we winds up doing a Star Wars movie, if that ever happens. But I think that there's going to be more stuff that they're establishing, and Swamp Thing could be one of those movies that doesn't necessarily tie in. Doesn't have to be.
I think Swamp Thing's one of those characters that can be solo at first and then tie in later, and you get that pop of like, kind of like they did with Werewolf by Night. Like I think Man Thing is going to be something that pops up in Midnight Suns and just make us happy, but won't have to. And I think Swamp Thing, I'd love to see Swamp Thing interact with Constantine before I see him interact with Superman. I think that world of Justice League Dark, I think that James Gunn is going to love playing with the, more sinister elements of what Constantine and Zatanna play with. So I'd love to see Swamp Thing there, but that's way more Mangold. I think Mangold's tone is going to really allow for that.
Well, I'm excited to see it. I'm excited for everything they're working on with DC right now. So before we take off our last story here today, I have a kind of a surprise story that I saw, and it's a question that I'm going to ask the guys, and I'll start with Coy on this one. Coy, do you think that Tom Holland is actually filming a Spider-Man movie right now?
I actually do. I think that photo is just like the photo of his little brother on set and just like the teases of the insanity of the multiverse. I think Tom Holland finished a play. He got to act in like a contained small thing for a little bit. And now Sony's like, hey, we're going to sneak out a movie as quick as we can. I really hope they're doing a contained, smaller Spider-Man movie for him. I doubt it, but I think he's filming Spider-Man right now on the quiet.
I will tell you that I agree with you. And I'm going to read this report. And then I'm going to tell you why I think that they are filming a Spider-Man movie and somehow have been able to keep it under wraps. Here is the story. Spider-Man star Tom Holland prompts speculation with secret shoot day behind-the-scenes photo. Spider-Man star Tom HOlland has shared a behind-the-scenes photo to social media that's led to some speculation that he might be back in a Peter Parker mode for a secret project. Tom HOlland has gained a bit of a reputation revealing a little too much about his upcoming Spider-Man MCU movies during his interviews, to the point that it's now become a running joke. Even so, when the actor mentions a secret project, his fans are going to pay attention. HOlland shared a new behind-the-scenes photo to social media with the caption, "Secret Shoot Day." This is highly unlikely to be Spider-Man 4. The movie isn't scheduled to enter production until next year and doesn't even have a director attached, but there's some speculation that it could be for something else Spidey-related. Venom: The Last Dance is also a long shot. The threequel comes out next month, but what about Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse? HOlland was rumored to make an appearance in a previous film, Across the Spider-Verse, and reports indicate that there were early plans for his take on Peter Parker to feature before a scheduling conflict got in the way. Honestly, we'd say it's something else entirely. HOlland was recently spotted in Los Angeles with a very non-Parker-esque haircut and appears to be sporting the same or very similar look in the shot. Now, he says, Tom HOlland shares a photo from the mystery set of an upcoming project, Secret Shoot Day, as he says this. Okay, so this is him. He seems to be in shape, ready to go. I mean, look, there's also, who knows what else he'd be working on. But the reason why, and it's a long shot, in the long run, do I think, if it turns out that it's not, am I going to be shocked? No. But the reason I think that he might be at least prepping for it is because when I was going through the 2025 schedule, I can't remember where it lands, but if you go through that 2025 schedule, it says somewhere on there, untitled Sony Marvel live action project. And it's locked in for like a 2025 release. What is that?
And it's big. It's July or December.
Right.
It's I don't remember which one, but I remember seeing it and thinking, like, Sony usually announces everything ahead.
Yeah, like, what is that? So, like, where does that land?
Or he's in Fantastic Four. But I do think he's filming Spider-Man right now.
Winston, are you the only sane person out of the three of us, or do you agree?
I think the one that makes the most sense, because I not that you couldn't put Spider-Man in Fantastic Four, but First Steps is supposed to be in the 60s, so let's not do that unless we're just talking about the dimension or time jump, which I guess obviously is going to have to happen at some point. I think maybe Beyond the Spider-Verse, if I had to truly guess, because Venom is done. You wouldn't do that last minute and try and throw that in there before it releases in a month. So I want to believe that but Beyond the Spider-Verse makes the most logical sense, as far as what else can you do? We haven't really.
You have the safest bet out of all of us. If you have the most likely to win cash if you put that bet down is your bet, because I think that because he was supposed to do it already, right? So why
it also
wouldn't
makes
he?
sense. You got Donald Glover already.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, look at this right here on the June 27th. June 27th.
That's such a big date.
It's got really F1, which should be okay, but Megan. And it's got
titled Sony Marvel Live. That sounds like, because if you go back, Beyond the Spider-Verse is nowhere on there, is it?
No, and it's not live action.
Well, but that would be potentially.
No, but it's a live action.
I see what you're saying. It would say animated / live action or something like that.
And it's not a Marvel. It's Sony.
Maybe it's Black Cat. I don't know.
But you know,
Beyond the Spider-Verse is a great idea for what Tom HOlland is doing. Maybe Kristian and I are just reading into that announcement,
right? And it just disappears.
I think both of these things could be true. But I love that this theory. I love that Kristian Harloff's tinfoil hat theory is also mine for the first time.
Yes, it's true.
Because rarely do we both go crazy simultaneously.
Right.
But as soon as I saw that picture, I was like, Spider-Man 4.
It could be. It's like But who knows?
How cool would that be? Because Tom HOlland wanted to announce it. This is very much like him to be like, by the way, just the nature of the post.
I'm back,
Tom
bitches.
HOlland Spider-Man 4.
Yeah, of course. What do you guys think, man? Do you think that this is actually our coin are just losing our minds, or is there some kind of shot that he actually is filming it, and they were somehow able to keep it away from Jeff Snyder? What say you guys? Put your thoughts in there. I want to thank Coy and Winston for joining us today, starting with Winston. Winston, where can I find you?
Find me at the Swaggy Blurred on all the platforms, especially here on YouTube. I got my Blurred breakdown popping off, which has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for everybody that's been watching. Please keep watching that. I've got this video essay kind of series I've been doing called A Thread. I've got one in particular I want to talk about. I really am enjoying the new show English Teacher. And so I kind of want to talk about some of the stuff I've seen grumbling on the interwebs. So come check me out over there.
Coy, how about yourself?
I will say again, not to steal the style because I can't replicate it, but Winston's editing is top notch, and he always thinks I'm watching like nefariously. I'm like supporting the dude, shouting him out. And he's like, "Oh, taking my editing? I can't do it that well."
It's the only thing I have, Coy.
So shout outs to Winston's editing and prowess. It's really impressive stuff over there, and he's done it so quickly. So tip my hat, unthieving. You can find me editing poorly on YouTube, but I got a lot to say. So if you want it for volume and verbosity and sheer quantity, head over to my YouTube. I got lots of comics I talk about. I'm gonna do a Beetlejuice review this week, and I'm super excited to see it, and just general commentary. And I'm really excited to dive into where we're going to Capes and Cowls soon, because I feel like the vibes are going to be able to like be how we are in real life, like with the three of us. So I'm really stoked for this next chapter.
Well, I'm glad that Coy brought that up also, because this Friday, remember, starting Monday, we're going live on all the shows. So Monday through Friday next week we'll be live, and Capes and Cowls will be live. You guys find it normally on Fridays, pre-taped, but we're going to be live, so you can join us. You can ask us questions. You can do whatever you want. You can be part of the conversation. We will be there on 10 a.m. PST on Friday, so be there with us. You want to support the show, you can get one of our wonderful sponsors. Thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. And we are starting our reactions, our movie reactions. The first one comes out today. That's right. Myself and Matt Sarah. We are watching Borderlands. Next week, my wife and I watched Trap. And then we have more stuff coming out every week. So check that out. Thank you for joining us. For Winston and Coy, see you later.